Welcome back to Kaulignation, your one-stop shop for all things Kaulig racing. I'm Sean. He is not Ryan. He's not here today. As you can probably tell, I'm still getting over just a wicked sickness, so apologies for my voice. But we wanted to put something out for you guys this week, and we just couldn't line up our schedule, so apologies for that. Hope Ryan's doing well. Our question for this video is, how did you feel about the first Xfinity playoff race back at Kansas? Let us know your thoughts below. Let's dive into it. Playoff race number 1 is in the books, and there's some positives to talk about, but unfortunately it's one of those cases where there's a lot of negatives to talk about. And let's talk about the positives first. Okay. SVG was able to learn and adapt to the high line. And when Kansas was the way it was this weekend, that's a good thing. You need to be able to generate speed up there. Sometimes the way your car is set up can do that, and sometimes it's not. SVG's was set up in a way where he could adjust and do that. AJ had tried it himself. That car was not going to work up there. Neither car on the short run or a mid-size run had anything at all to offer, not just the leaders, but they weren't even top 10 cars in the short run and the mid run. Now in the long run, because they weren't burning their tires up as quickly as the other cars, they were just as good as the top 3 or 4 guys once you got 30, 40 laps into a run, which was good, and it showed, especially SVG at the end. AJ was running about P3, P4 lap times when he was on his long run at the end of 2 and through the beginning of 3. SVG at the end was running the same P3, P4 lap times at the end of the race. Now, it ended up being a caution that flipped it, because at one point AJ was 1 point to the good in the playoffs and SVG was 1 point out. An untimely caution right after AJ had pit ended up flipping it, and SVG and Josh Williams gained 10 spots on the track, and AJ lost that many, and then could never recover after they made the next adjustment. So just kudos to SVG for gutting out a good finish, which I thought was great on a track that he has no experience on. And it certainly wasn't a top 10 car, but he brought it home, I believe, 8th, something like that, 8th or 9th. And it's hard to ask for more than what he delivered. I thought he did the most for what you could expect, honestly. Really thrilled that he was able to do that. Thrilled that he's 8 points to the good in the playoffs, although that can go away quickly at Talladega. We'll talk about that shortly. But yeah, just overall, really thrilled with SVG's performance. I'll touch on Williams briefly. He too benefited from the caution and was able to maintain position, which is good. So I really appreciate that. But at the end of the day, the 16 team is terrible. In every sense of the word, they screwed up right from the garage. We found out some screw ups that they made at Bristol that the crew chief owned up to. He even mentioned in the race that the car, just they messed something up at the shop and they were making the most of it. You cannot have mistakes like that come playoff time. It just can't happen. You have to be bringing your best. And if you're not bringing your best at this time of the year, you're in trouble. AJ was a 15th place Xfinity car. That's embarrassingly bad. He was pissed on the radio. They got it to a point where they could finally get up into the top 10 there. And the caution screwed them. But at the end of the day, they had one really good pit stop where they gained several positions. But they had 2 absolutely awful ones on top of a pit road infraction. And now all of a sudden they're 13 points out of the playoffs. And you don't want to go to the Roval and have to win and be in. You want to go to the Roval either inside the top 8 or a point or two outside of the top 8, because then AJ will go do his thing, probably sacrifice winning the thing in order to gain stage points. But you got to close that gap. You're 13 back, and honestly, it's just not acceptable on Kaulig's part to bring race cars to the track that were that uncompetitive. And like, this is now 3 weeks in a row. We had a really good stretch there for a bit, and then you bring duds to the Glen. And sorry if I'm being harsh here, but like, it's playoff time. It's the time to be harsh. You brought duds to the Glen, where 2 all-star road course drivers in SVG and AJ made up for it as best as they could. You brought nothing to Bristol that you could accomplish really anything with. And then you followed that up again at Kansas. All the momentum you built up for like a month and a half has been completely flushed down the toilet. And there's no reason to think that they're going to bring good cars to the Roval. You can't just go, well, they brought good cars to the Roval last year. They brought good cars to the Roval the year before. The cars at the Roval last year were not that good. Daniel Hemrick really couldn't do anything in it. And the car that AJ last won the Roval in was not a winning car. He raced his ass off and had to battle Ty Gibbs and basically outdid him on some restarts in order to win. It was not a car that walked away from the field. So there's no reason to be confident in the material they're bringing. SVG, who should have been over the moon about where he finished at Kansas, flat out called them out in his post-race interview and said, the cars need to be better. It's just unacceptable right now. And they're right. And it's the wrong time to be doing this. So I went from very confident in their ability to move forward in the playoffs to not very confident at all, frankly. And that needs to change. And that needs to change in a hurry. And they don't have a lot of time to change this in. And, we'll see what happens and how it plays out. But Talladega, it's super speedway. You're going to be all over the place there. And AJ, SVG will be able to play it safe. Play it safe, collect some points, probably stay inside the top 10. AJ is going to have no choice but to go to Talladega and be aggressive, pursue stage points, run towards the front, hopefully not wreck on the last lap. And he's won there before. He's great at super speedway racing. Kaulig will be good at a super speedway track, but it's not a position that you want to be in, and you don't want to then get involved in a wreck at Dega and have to win the Roval, because I'm sure that JRM is going to bring a stacked Connor Zilish ride. I'm sure JGR will have someone in their extra cars. SVG will be good there too. Like, I'm not saying AJ can't do it. The fact is, he has never lost at the Roval in the Xfinity series. But it's unfair to put that kind of pressure on your driver, or drivers for that matter, because it could be AJ and SVG both in that spot going into the Roval, depending on how Dega goes. It's unfair to ask that to them because you keep bringing them duds. It's unacceptable at this point. We were full of praise when they were bringing good cars. Well, right now they're not bringing good cars, and it needs to change. Let us know in the comments section down below how you feel about their chances moving forward. AJ 13 out and SVG 8 points in. What did you think of Kansas? Let us know. We would love to hear your thoughts. Apologies for the lack of content. You can probably tell that I'm sick. Doing our best here. We'll be back with Ryan shortly. Tune in to our next video after this, a couple days from now, where we will talk about the Ty Dillon, Daniel Hemrick Circle sponsorship stuff with Kaulig Racing, and also preview Dega a little bit more across both series. But for Ryan, who's not here, I'm Sean. We'll see you in the next video.